Awesome. This is such great attendance. Thank you all. Before we get started, I'm just going to do some shout outs to folks that are here. We've got New St. Joseph, Community Works, Yaya, First Pilgrim, a bunch of people. Thank you so much for being so responsive to today's workshop. This is great. All right,
Nord.
Turn it back over.
So this is just to give you an overview of our agenda today. Excuse me, frog in the throat. And part of that was the housekeeping, but we have gone over that. And so the next thing I guess would be to tell you who we are.
Jillian, want to go for that part?
Yes, sorry, I was just admitting some additional folks into the meeting room. So for folks that heard me earlier, my name is Jillian Delos Reyes, and I am the campaign manager for the New Orleans campaign for grade level reading, which this institute falls under. And I have the privilege to work with some really amazing folks, not just this summer, but in years past, and really excited to be here with you all today. I'd like to introduce Angela Herbert White, who's been our program coordinator since the inception of the Institute way back in 2017. Yeah, 2017. So from its brainchild to our first pilot year to this year, which is our third year, Angela has been on this road with us, helping us to develop what this institute is all about, and she brings her expertise and her passion to the table. It's so invaluable, and I love working with Angela. She's going to be a voice and a source of support for you and the coaches throughout the summer. And I'll be here as well to answer questions about the campaign in general and be your also point person for the Institute throughout the summer. I also want to introduce our amazing team from Kids Smart and our coaches, and then just to explain a little bit about what this partnership looks like. We have the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. It's an initiative that's funded and supported by the United Way of Southeast Louisiana. We have a program within the campaign called the Fennelly Summer Literacy Institute, which addresses our need to talk about the issue of summer slide and summer learning. And we have partnered with our fabulous partners at Kids Smart to bring their coaching expertise and acumen to the table to help us further our aim of the Institute in year 3. I'd like to introduce Amanisha Ferdinand, who's been with us also from the very beginning, Zeb Hollins, who has been with us for the past 2 years, and Sam King, who's one of our wonderful facilitators as well. So I just want to little inaudible applause to our wonderful coaches that will be paired with you this summer as we uncover what summer 2020 looks like.
And I think we're moving on to introducing you all. I think that's the next slide. So our participating program, Summer 2020, to go on this adventure with us. These are the organizations who are in the cohort. We want to be sure that you all know each other. We want to be sure that you get a chance to just kind of take a, Jillian's got some applause there too for the organizations. We're so glad you're joining us this summer. So glad that we've already started some conversations with I think most of you, just to reach out and find out what are your plans, how are things adjusting as we're learning everything we're learning about what are the changes we need to make to keep everybody healthy this summer. So yay, welcome. So good to see you all.
In keeping with that and getting to know each other, we wanted to ask you, excuse me, we wanted to ask you a question and do a little community building. We'd like you to answer this actually in the chat, and there's a reason for that. So just take a moment and think about what was the first book you loved and what about it was so special. It may have been something that was read to you over and over again. It may have been something a teacher introduced to you. It may have been something you stumbled on or read after a sibling or a cousin said it was awesome. What was the first book you loved and why? And if you would put that in the chat, we can actually collect a reading list for you because some of the greatest books are the ones that people we care about recommend. So go ahead and take a few moments to put that in the chat. It's just a thought that you, if you haven't already, and I'm sure a lot of you have as teachers, brought these to your students, to your campers, it might be just wonderful to pass this on to them. Wonderful. We're going to collect this list, and there may be a surprise. I'm not sure. There may be a little treat for you.
Great. So
Yes,
as you all continue, thank you, Sam. As you continue to put your favorite books in the chat, I want to go over some objectives of what we want to make sure we're accomplishing today. We want to give you a broad overview of what Fennelly is about, and to talk some about possibilities, because that's where the best ideas come from, is talking possibilities and seeing what we can do this summer. We want to make sure you have a good orientation to what the Institute's about as you get started, and a chance for you to get to know a little bit about each other. So you get to know your fellow cohort members' favorite books right now, or their first inspiring book right now. So check that out as we go. This is a start of our conversation that will be going on through the summer about strategies, what they might look like specifically for your program this summer. And also a start at giving you some tools to help identify where you are with integrating literacy into your summer program. And then to have us start talking together about what they might look like next. So those are our objectives today. To keep going with the next slide, to give you, we'll start into what exactly the Institute is about. So our vision for what we're doing with the Institute is we want to start with what you've got now, your existing assets within your program, helping you to infuse easy to implement literacy practices for children ages 4 to 8. So easy to implement is important. We're talking about summer, and this summer in particular, we want to make sure you feel like, you know what, this is doable. This is absolutely something we can do. We can take these next steps so that we can get literacy even further into our programs, no matter where your starting point is right now. We want children to have access to quality summer programs that infuse literacy, so that, yes, they have amazing experiences this summer, and also they're better prepared for school in the fall. The way we go about it is we want to support you in this literacy integration. We want to be sure that you're coming to the table willing and committed to take the next steps. And at the same time, we are always adding value. We are not coming in with a formula that's a one-size-fits-all for everyone. We want to be sure that we are helping you see whatever's going to be valuable to take your next steps. And that also speaks to us being sure we're being responsive. We're listening to what it is you need. Listening as to what it is the children in your programs need. And we are definitely about learning together. We are not going to come in thinking we have all the answers. We are excited. Every summer we've come together and really been excited about how we can learn what goes on in your programs, and how we can make the Institute stronger and stronger, with the foundation being you all and what you need. So that also goes to what we've done in the past. This is our third summer. In our first summer, we started really with programs. We wanted to get an idea of what's happening currently in, we started with NORD programs, but in any summer programs in New Orleans. What's happening? What do programs need next? What do they see are those easy to implement, doable next steps for integrating or further integrating literacy into what they do? We built the model based on programs and what they needed. It was really important to us to start with you all. We went into that in 2017 and summer and then 2018 when we did the work within that summer was the first summer. And you can see the numbers there. I'm not going to read through them, but the numbers as we've grown each year. We all know that summer 2020 will be a new way for us to deepen how we do our work. We're thinking about possibilities for sure, and how we can be sure that you are getting, and we are helping you get the resources you need to reach kids, no matter where they are and no matter when they come to you this summertime. Our basic formula: training plus coaching plus stipends equals improved summer learning. We will be providing about 2, possibly 3 additional workshops beyond this orientation workshop. You will be assigned a coach to work with you to help you customize your goals, your strategies for how you're going to do the work this summer within literacy. We will be providing you some stipends, some funding in order to help you be sure you've got the materials you need and support you need to take these next steps. The minimum amount of funding, because I know that's a question, will be $1,500 per organization. We are also looking at how things are shifting with enrollments right now to be sure that if we need to, within a formula that we're taking a look at, how can we maybe give a little bit more than that if your numbers are large enough that you need additional funds in order to give every child in your program the support that they need. Our workshops, to break those down a little further, today, right now, is building a culture of literacy. That's our orientation, and also some foundational questions and I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of what, just kind of some first thoughts, first pieces of the puzzle around what is the culture of literacy, how do you start where you are and take the next steps in just building this conversation for yourself. Even if you've been in the conversation with us for the last few years, we just want to be sure that we're stopping and taking stock of where you are right now and how can we take those next steps forward. Beyond today, beyond this evening, we'll be offering some additional workshops. So next week is integrating literacy into enrichment activities. That workshop will happen next week. The following is interactive read-alouds on May 18th. And then we'll be helping to get some information around building out literacy centers on May 25th. Know that all of our workshops are being adjusted to be offered virtually throughout May. They're all going to be via Zoom, and they'll all be 4:30 to 6 o'clock on the dates listed. You've gotten all of the calendar invitations. We apologize for bombarding you with so many invitations all at once. We wanted to be sure you had them on your calendar. Know that you will be working you'll be able to refine and focus your specific strategy, your specific thing you want to work on this summer. At the same time, we wanted to invite you to all of these workshops so that you can choose whether you want to attend or invite your staff to attend all of them. Or if you really want to you already know you want to focus on one particular area, the choice is yours. We want to be sure that you're coming to the workshops, at least the ones you know that you're going to be moving forward with. So you've got that foundational information as we get started too. Before we move on, Sam, is there anything that I haven't said that I should about workshops?
I don't think so. They will be recorded. So one of the wonderful things about one of the upsides of the virtual world is that if you want to revisit the workshop or send someone else or another group of people to the workshop, they'll be available for you after the initial workshop. So that's wonderful because you can then see all of them and don't have to get in your car and drive and all of that stuff. Comfort of your own home, virtual learning, it's lovely.
Great. Coaches. So coaching we said March. We actually kind of started the conversation more in April as we've been adjusting our plans too. We are going to be starting, we've had one conversation with most of you just to get things started. You'll be assigned a coach in the next few days, and then that coach will help you to set some goals, to do some planning and prep as we go forward. 1 to 2 sessions on the goal setting and 3 to 5 sessions approximately to help support you in implementing, finding the steps, finding the strategies that will help you implement that goal, or the steps you need to fulfill that goal by the end of the summer. Coaches, as Jillian said earlier, are provided through partnership with KidSmart. I'm a bit biased about how amazing KidSmart coaches are, and if you worked with them last year, I'm pretty sure you are too. So we're so excited to be partnering with KidSmart again this year, and they're amazing coaches. A little bit more about stipends. So I told you some of this earlier. Minimum $1,500 per participating organization based on your program size. KidSmart is going to be the fiscal sponsor of getting those stipends to you. The purpose of the funds is about providing funding to support literacy integration activities. So that can be, I encourage you to work with your coach to determine what that might look like and how you might use those funds that will really help support your next steps. We've had people, most of the time people have used those funds to buy materials so that kids can have journals and crayons and pencils and notebooks and books, libraries, books hopefully that they get to take home and keep with them. Those are wonderful things to do. In addition, there have been some other things that people have done too. So reach out to us. One thing that I'm thinking of right now is this summer in particular, if it makes sense for you to use all or some of those funds to have some online subscriptions, some online access for families, in a subscription package, then those funds could be used for that too. We've provided you, a little further down this slide, you'll see we provided you a couple of documents this morning in an email, and we'll be sure you get them. If you haven't gotten that email, if you still need it, we'll get you those links. We'll need a W-9 from you, and we'll also need a signed budget agreement that also serves as your invoice. Once you give us that budget, what your plans are for the funds, we'll take a look at it. If there's anything in particular, we need to get a little more information how it connects to your literacy related plans. We might email you back and say, look, can you be a little more clear on this? It does not have to be like a super detailed, complete with links to Amazon purchases. It doesn't have to be that kind of budget. Think line items of like, you know, if you want to buy books, the line item says books, and then the amount that you want to spend on books. Or if you want to have a subscription, you could put the subscription in particular, so we know exactly that it is going to be literacy related, and then give us that amount in there too. I'm the one that you'll be submitting the budget to, and I'll be back and forth with you just to be sure that it's as clear as possible before we submit it for that, for the request for the stipend to be paid out. A couple of additional restrictions to know. You can't claim these funds twice. So I think anybody who knows in nonprofit land, you can't double dip on what you're claiming the funds for. So if these are funds you're planning to, if there are funds that you're planning to also claim for an additional funding source, don't put that on ours. Put something that maybe other funders have not been able to cover or are within their restrictions that is literacy related. And like I said, it does need to have a clear rationale of how it's helping to move forward your literacy integration goals. That was a lot.
I encourage folks to add any questions that you have in the chat as we go along, just so you don't lose that question. We'll be sure to make time at the end to bring those up.
Thank you, Jillian, because there might be some stipend related questions at this point, I think. I'm watching, I don't see any yet, so I'm going to keep going. Timeline of some key dates. You'll get these slides, but if you want to take a screenshot of this right now, go ahead, it's capturing some dates. We have been very much, as everyone has, in flux on how we're landing dates. We just had to land them somewhere, so here they are. We met the first one May 4th today, yay! And then you'll start having your coaching conversations, probably not tomorrow. We're going to take a couple of days to do some assignment of coaches to help match up who we think would be best in supporting you from our 3 amazing coaches. But your first and second conversations with your coach are going to be planning around goal setting. And those will happen in the next few weeks. And then third and fourth, sessions will be more like planning for program rollout. Once you have a goal, then we'll start to talk about strategy with you. We are going to ask you to submit those budgets by May 25th. You can do it ahead of time if it makes sense. I would encourage you to just have a couple conversations with your coach first to be sure that everything's lining up with what your thoughts were. The part that says focus area selection, know that that's something that you're also going to be talking with your coach about. Every summer, we want to be sure that we're helping you meet your goals toward literacy integration, but also helping you to focus on a particular thing that we know you can start at the beginning, well now really, through summer, because summer is a sprint, not a marathon. And we know within that sprint, there are, oh man, so many amazing ideas. I love visiting your programs and seeing all the phenomenal ideas you all have going on. We also want to be sure that there's something that we can kind of hone in on and help you get all the way to the finish line with a particular thing. So that's what focus area is about. It's just helping you get real clear on what is the strategy that you'll be able to follow through for the whole summer. And then underneath those kind of bigger categories are, again, our workshop dates, May 11th and May 18th. And then that gets us to start of summer programs. We know that right now programs are planning to start June 1st. We're hearing that there might be a pushback. We're gonna work with you, whatever your dates are. We're gonna work with you to help you be sure you've got the time you need to make that happen. And then closing session. We are hoping to have closing session ideally in person by either July 30th or 31st. So keep that in mind and keep that on your calendar as well. On this, I just want to also stop and note for a second that regardless of how your summer plans change, regardless of how things come together for you, we want to be here. The Institute is going to be here for you, and we're going to be in this conversation with you no matter what. So if that means you're in person, fantastic. We want to support you with that. If that means that your program has to go virtual, we want to support you with that too. If that means you get to a point where you say, you know what, we just can't do it this summer, we still want to work with you because we know that you're connected with families who are still going to need resources, and we want to help connect you to connect the families with the resources they need to be sure they have rich literary and literacy development experiences this summer.
Sure. Just so you know, like this is an opportunity for us to co-create what summer looks like for both our Institute staff as well as our program participants. And so we want to be there for you every step of the way, and we are prepared and committed to do that. And we just ask for the same in return, in that, you know, just basic things like we don't want to be in a position where you feel like we're adding yet another thing for you to accomplish this summer, adding something else that you have to be responsible for. Our approach is integration. We want to walk with you step by step to make sure that literacy practices are integrated and infused into the daily things that you're doing. We want to be viewed as a resource, and we want to view you as a learning partner. So for that to be successful, we want to come to the table committed and hope that you'll meet us on the other side as a committed partner as well. That this shows up in ways like, you know, if we set a time, let's make sure that we honor those times and we come prepared with questions and having read some materials. We understand that life happens and that won't happen perfectly every time, but we just ask that you keep an open line of communication and make sure that there's knowledge sharing, not just happening with you, but amongst your staff. And so that we have an opportunity to move our conversations forward every time you meet with our coaches. We want to spend our time in a fruitful way. So every time we meet with our coaches, we're learning something new and not having to revisit what we learned last week.
So before we move forward, I just wanted to reiterate that this is a strange time, to say the least, and we are ready. We're ready for you. We're ready with you. And I'm going to sort of be the cheerleader tonight of celebration and victories. I would like this to be a time where we can pat ourselves on the back for what we're already doing. And the very fact that you're here in this meeting is a win. It's just a win, because to have a cohort of committed individuals who are ready, able, and responsive to children's needs is a beautiful thing. So I wanted to do a little celebration of Fennelly, and bear with me. This is what people are saying about the Institute. It may even have been you who said this about the Institute, so thank you for that. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can peruse them as we go through. I'm very excited about some of these quotes. One of them on this page is Community Works. Definitely saw the impact of this last summer, and they're looking forward to working within the Institute again. So welcome and thank you. On the next page, we have some quotes. It was the next best thing to having now my pictures are all in the way. Hold on, I gotta move over. To having a literacy expert in residence. Our coach was accessible, knowledgeable, and made the learnings fun. And that is something that we're still committed to doing, and I'm sure you are as well. And then my very favorite thing is an anecdote. One of our directors sent a piece about one of her campers. So 8-year-old Artie made a friend with a book that fueled his desire to learn to read. Our coach modeled an interactive read aloud with his group, and the counselor implemented the strategy in their literacy session. Artie was thrilled to get the role of narrator for the group's end of camp enactment. By the end of summer, his computer-based reading post-test had almost doubled from his pre-test. And he told me, I'm going to do good in school next year. And this is the reason we're here. These are the moments that we love to hear about, that the work is impactful, the kids retain it, and a lot of your campers return. So they are people you have relationships with and you can see their growth. And we'd really like to help you with that. So in that vein, there are a couple things that we're gonna do that are both assessment and celebration. You have in your packet that was sent this particular bingo card, and it is also in the chat if you want to cut and paste it into your browser. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to call things out, and I know that you're all muted, so you can't necessarily say bingo, but I just want us to go through the things we're already doing and really notice how we're already providing literacy opportunities to our campers. So everything on this list, if you could just check it off, and then we'll go and see who's got a bunch of bingos, and you do have a free space, because you know. So I'm gonna go through, and every one of these things, the prompt beforehand would be, do I provide opportunities for my campers to? Do I provide opportunities for my campers to the following? And if they do, go ahead and check it, okay? B, engage in conversations with others. I, do you do dear, drop everything and read? N, do your kids know the alphabet? G, do they have opportunities to write down original stories? O, do they engage in story time or read alouds? B, do they connect letters with sounds and words with meanings? I, do they draw pictures to express their understanding? N, do they retell key details? G, do they have access to age-appropriate books? O, do they play video games? It should have been free space. B, do they present oral or written book reports? I, do they make connections between stories and their own lives? N, are they free? G, do they use books or other resources to get their questions answered? O, do they find meaning and follow a storyline looking at illustrations?
Sam, can I pause there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Just to ask, how's everybody doing? If anybody has bingo yet, go ahead, put it in the chat. We want to know how things are going for you. You need to catch up a minute. All right.
Okay. B, do your campers mimic the way others talk or move?
We've got a bingo
Oh, you got a bingo.
from Hannah and
Hannah,
Ashay and Carolyn Johnson.
yay. Ladies, you hold on to that bingo and we will celebrate you. We're going to let some other people get a chance to get a bingo, but Jillian, will you mark that on the chat and make sure that we revisit it? Thank you. Okay, everybody, moving on. Almost done. B, do your campers mimic the way others talk or move? I, do they enjoy reading books of their choosing? N, do they ask questions about the pronunciation and or meaning of words? G, do they redo, add to, rehearse, or revise their creations? O, do they make it clear what they are thinking and feeling to others? And our last line, B, do they know the parts of a book and understand how it is organized? I, do they attend performances and discuss their reactions? N, do they keep daily journals or engage in written reflection? G, do they show an interest in different languages or cultures? O, do they doodle or practice penmanship, like write their names in different ways? So take a moment, check and see, put your bingo in the chat. Every one of these things is extremely accessible literacy development. So if you're doing any of these things, you're doing a great job. Can we revisit the bingos, Jillian?
Looks like we have bingos from Hannah at Ashay. Yay, snaps. Carolyn Johnson with New Hope.
Yay.
Snaps.
Jillian, I actually think, Hannah, I think are you with Community Works, I believe?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Community Works. I was just looking at the name on her Zoom. My apologies. We have Mrs. Rankins. I'm not sure what program she's with, but she is a bingo as well. And then F. Martin.
Nova,
bingo.
great.
Excellent, excellent, everybody. These are things that can be implemented daily and things that are very easy to do. If something popped out at you that you might want to try, go ahead and try it. You also, these are also things that are frequently overlooked in terms of developing literacy, and people are doing them without even thinking that they're doing them. I know that your kids know the alphabet. And there are things on here that are ways that they're furthering their literacy development that we want to celebrate. They seem like just everyday things, and they're actually things that are moving us forward. So these are the things you're already doing in our checklist. Before we get there, let me explain a little about this checklist. This checklist was developed from the detailed progressions. And in literacy development, there's a progression of expectations for what kids typically should know and be able to do at certain ages. So each step in that progression is called an indicator, and it outlines the knowledge or skill that you would expect to see in a child within a specific age range. Of course, kids vary, but this is across the board how literacy development progresses. So you have a checklist. Also,
Can I stop you just a minute too on those progressions? Just so that I think it might be good to note here, just at the bottom of the screen, you see it says extending and enhancing literacy learning and after school programs, a practice guide. That's the document that Sam is referring to. And for those of you who are very interested in references and going to the source, know that this morning when you got the email, one of the links that you got was to the full literacy progressions and the full chart of all of them. You will have it. I told you in that email, or we told you in the email, you don't need to print it out for now. It's got a lot of color, wastes a lot of ink, but it's beautiful. But you'll have it, and that's the longer version in case it's something that's helpful, I want to make sure you know that it's there for you too. And now, yes.
Thank you, Angela. Yes, you do have it. It is detailed. It's also fascinating if you're somebody like me who likes details. What we're going to do right now, and there's a twofold purpose to what we're going to do. One of the things we're going to do, or one of the reasons we're doing the checklist, is so that you have a document in your hand that helps you to plan and set your goals with your coach when we see you in the next couple of weeks, or talk to you, or see you like this in the next couple of weeks. And another reason is to celebrate what you're already doing. So it's a tangible guide to your success, to your current success. The checklist, go through each indicator and check off the things that your come back and sort of check and see what's going on with what you found out about your program currently. 5 minutes? We'll give you 5 minutes. I wish I had some lovely music for you. I could sing, but then, you know, you'd be so distracted by my brilliance that you couldn't go on. So I won't do that. In 5 minutes, we'll come back and we'll check and see where we are right now in our programs based on the detailed progressions. Okay, ready?
I think so.
Okay, so this next part, we just want to unpack this. We just want to take a minute to notice things. As you look at what you've checked off, what is or isn't happening, what do you notice that you're doing a lot of or doing across a lot of grades? And what do you notice maybe, we haven't really done that yet. And then go ahead and put that, something that you would notice about what is or isn't happening in your chat.
There's an organization that was with us a couple of summers ago when we gave them an opportunity to stop and do a similar sort of exercise. They were amazed that although they were extremely rich and deep in particular areas, they couldn't believe that they were really kind of light on the writing parts of these progressions. So they had a lot of checks everywhere, and they got to writing and not so many. And that was something that wasn't there for them to say, oh, that's terrible, but more to just stop and notice, because, oh my goodness, information helps you to get to that next place you want to go. And that's how they helped to decide what their next steps were going to be for their summer upcoming. So that might be something. And so if you're coming up with something like that, that you're noticing that you are doing, or something that really, that isn't happening yet, go ahead and make note in the chat, and we can start to get ideas from there of how things are going and how things are looking for across the cohort.
Don't be afraid to celebrate yourself.
Yeah, that too. So Noba is saying we could also implement writing for deeper impact. We could certainly use dance vocabulary and storytelling for choreography and learn about new cultures, but we could engage the students in more reflection writing practices. That sounds exciting. Thank you so much for sharing too.
Nice,
that's an exciting thing to notice about possibilities. I think maybe keep.
Also, I'm just gonna for the sake of time, keep moving. I'm wondering if you would put in the chat how you intend to find out what your campers are needing this summer. Is it knowing them from last summer? Is it a pre-assessment? Is it asking them, talking to their parents? What are the methods you're going to use to sort of decide what you want to focus on for them this summer? Please excuse the Banksy came in and took over this particular slide. Sorry about that.
So Sam, when you and I talked about asking this particular question, we were also thinking of it from the perspective of where we are right now in the time of COVID, and you know, what campers have been through, what children have been through in the last couple of months. What are your plans or your thoughts around finding out what they need specifically this summer too, after the distance learning or the out of school experiences they've been having lately?
Right. Someone's saying parent input, parent surveys, good. So you're very connected with parents and they should know. That's wonderful. Okay, good. Parent evaluations and surveys. Excellent.
Reassessment, parent consults. Okay.
Pre-assessing parent consults. Excellent. That actually brings me to the next question, which is, what are some trends you notice within your practice and across practices? And you're very connected. It looks to me, there's a trend I'm noticing that you're very connected to your parents, which is wonderful. Does anyone else have a desire to maybe focus more on one thing than another this year in terms of maybe it's different this year? You have just some thoughts around wanting to do something differently or in addition to what you're already doing?
Jamil said, if it's not emphasized, it's not done. And that kind of goes with what we're talking about, finding a focus area. So finding one thing in particular to emphasize, move forward on, helps to make sure that it happens. Thank you for that, Jamil.
So I did want to talk about winnable victories in the time of COVID. We know we can't do all things this summer. It's weird. It's a weird summer. So I'd like to focus on winnable victories. And I really want to focus on how much all of us care and give children and families the support they need. And I'm very excited about the fact, I just know that literacy will advance. And in terms of stopping the summer slide, we've got a whole bunch of ideas. And also want to partner with you and think about ideas you may have to prevent summer slide. And in this time of distance learning or half and half, where they're maybe coming for part of the time with less people around them and then doing some things online, however it ends up looking, we know that we're all committed to moving them forward. So we are making resources available to you and your families. And KidSmart is doing something called Art Apart, which is a series of really incredible videos that our teaching artists are doing so that families can do fun artistic activities at home. And a lot of them have to do with literacy. We're making our virtual online workshops available to a wider audience. We have a YouTube channel and content will be up there and organized in an adult section and a kid-friendly section. We're going to be supporting everybody technically to increase all of our tech savvy. Now, of course, if you got a mouse, I may not be the one you want to talk to because I'm obviously having mouse problems, but maybe you can help me and get me a little more tech savvy. And we've also decided that we realize if you're like a lot of us, you respond to texts faster than you respond to emails. So though we will have ongoing meetings virtually, hopefully in person, and we'll be emailing, we're going to be communicating a lot by text. We don't want to bombard you. We're not asking for your vote, but we're thinking that if we text you, you'll see it quicker. Maybe we can do a faster check-in and support you quicker that way.
You all, organizations that are here, I know Yaya has been doing some wonderful arts instruction videos as well. Q, who's on the call, I've been loving watching his as well as just amazing Art Apart videos too. So let us know, and as we're building the YouTube channel, we want to be able to provide resources that will really help families this summer in making some rich experiences at home.
And moving on to reflection, just to think about what we've put down in our checklist. I would highly encourage you to keep that checklist for your first meetings with your coaches so that you just have something concrete to work from. But just jot down on that as you're looking over these things. What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to continue doing? And what might you start doing based on what you came up with in your checklist?
I'd also encourage folks that there's multiple like representatives from one camp on this Zoom. If you have an opportunity to touch base with your team before you meet with your coaches to see where you find some alignment or some things that you didn't think of that maybe another member of your team thought of.
Does anyone have any reflection that they'd like to put in the chat? What you might not do again after having evaluated it from last year or the year before? What you really feel is a strong practice that you're doing and what you might want to try?
Can I challenge people to think of like one that they'll want to put in the chat? So think of one of the things that you just wrote and go ahead and put it in the chat. We can start getting some ideas. Jamil's already posted. Thank you, Jamil.
I would love to unpack that too.
And how it fits with the comments earlier about being intentional and moving forward with intentionality. Awesome.
Nice, Jamil, thank you. Nice. From DB Johnson, stop rushing.
Hey, Dawana.
It's true, it's summer. Also, we have to keep in mind. Okay, thank you for those reflections. I love how these are very foundational and best practice in terms of raising children. I love that. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, I do again apologize for the streaks in the PowerPoint, and I will turn it over to Angela for next steps in our journey together.
Yeah, so we'll be, we're coming to a bit of a wrap up. We were hoping to finish up a little bit early. Hopefully we'll get you some information about what you're doing next. So as Jillian said, next step, please start the conversation within your staff. Who has participated and might have some ideas from being here this evening? Who do you want to make sure you're bringing into the conversation who hasn't been part of it yet? So that you can all start getting on the same page and getting connected about that intentionality and that focus and starting to move things in that direction. You will be getting an email in the next few days to get your coach assignment, and then you'll be setting up time to connect with your coach too, and then in the coming weeks. You do not have to have any answers, any preparation ahead of time meeting with your coach. That's what they're there for. So if you know stuff, awesome. If you don't know stuff, show up to the meeting like that, and that's where the coaches will help you take you to the next step wherever you're coming from. Mark your calendars for the workshops that we have coming up next Monday and the Monday after. We tried to keep it simple and roll them out on Mondays. So integrating literacy into enrichment activities on May 11th, and that's a wonderful workshop about taking whatever your content is, whether you're a sports focused camp or an arts focused camp or a camp that really is, you know, a very traditional summer camp model. How might there be opportunities, and how can you stop a minute and think about opportunities for integrating and infusing literacy in the different activities that you've already planned? The next one, interactive read alouds on May 18th. Really, really fun opportunities to, yes, do read alouds and find ways to help kids be more interactive and really engaged in participating. Yes, listening to the stories, but also participating and being like experiencing the stories as well, being part of the stories as they experience them. And then literacy centers on May 25th. interesting because we're talking a lot about what literacy centers might look like this summer. So know that conversation, if you're interested in having that be your focus, is what might your literacy center look like, we're excited to talk with you about that, and whether or not that means your literacy centers will be at a physical location, or whether we want to round that out to some experiences or some resources for families. We want that conversation to happen too. So know that literacy centers, we want to hear from you what you're thinking and what your plans are for what literacy centers and what physical areas or resources you might be thinking of for providing opportunities for kids. A lot of thoughts around that right now. So again, they'll all be on Zoom, all from 4:30 to 6. You've gotten your invitations. The other thing I want to be sure you know as a next step, when I said earlier that we really have created this institute centered on what program providers need, we build out what we're doing according to what you all tell us is the best way to do this. We're going to be sending out a survey after every workshop, including this one. We usually do it by hard copy so we can get them back right then. We can't do that anymore. So we're going to be sending, we didn't want to send a whole bunch of links all at once, but you will be getting a separate email asking you to please complete a survey online for us. We really take that feedback, and we'll be using it to hone and continue to improve what we're doing and how we're serving you and providing true, sincere, intentional value to your work this summer. So please fill out that survey when you get the link.
We've got some thank yous in the chat. No, thank you all for making time to join today. We've had over 31 participants from representing different programs that are in the Institute this year. So this is wonderful. Thank you.
So excited to get started.
Yeah, we are excited, and thank you for your dedication and
I see a note from Linda Otis. That's great feedback. Ask more open-ended questions. For the purpose of today's workshop, we facilitated it in such a way that we kept it response in chat or other means of communication. But if you have some one-on-one questions, please note them and either reach out to Angela or myself so that we can make sure that all of your questions are answered. Thank you all.
hey everyone.
We'll go ahead and we'll stick around, but go ahead and sign off. And we are here when you need us, and we'll be talking with you. You'll be talking with your coaches very, very soon. Take care. Happy Monday.